Good morning, everyone. Is my audio and video clear? Please let me know in the comment section. Good morning, Manish, Chetan, Bhakti, Mahito. Very good morning to all of you. Is my audio and video clear? Okay. Good morning, Anjali. Fine. Okay, then a very good morning to everyone watching this video. I am Manoj Sharma from Olive Board and I'm here with the live mint analysis that we do every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So we take up important articles from the newspaper and discuss them in detail, and we also try to link it with the static portion wherever it's possible. This is important for all regulatory exams, and I hope that all of you are following the newspaper and reading the newspaper, right? Good morning, Indranil. ठीक है, and if you want to download this YouTube class PDF, before I begin, if you want to download this PDF, you can do it from the Olive Board app. Just go to the courses section, go to the YouTube class PDFs folder, and you can download it from here. Fine? ठीक है? Chalo, let's not waste time and let's begin with the session here. The first important article over here is stock surge, crude oil cools as war cries fade. So now we know that there is a ceasefire that has been signed between Iran and Israel, because of which the oil prices have again fallen. The major issue that we were seeing is because of this conflict is that there would have been a rise in the oil prices. But now these oil prices have moderated, and that has actually, benefited all the countries. It has benefited the Indian stock markets, right? And because we import 85%, India imports 85% of the oil, and therefore a ceasefire in this war is going to definitely positively impact our economy, right? So Indian stock markets, they soared to the highest level in 9 months because of these global crude oil prices, which dropped below $70 per barrel. And because of these easing geopolitical tensions in West Asia, we can see a positive outlook over here. Nifty rose, Sensex surged, Brent crude fell from $78.68 per barrel to $68.58 dollars per barrel, which is quite low. Okay, and 3.5 trillion rupees added to investors' wealth. This was a positive thing. Because of this falling dollar, also easing conflict tension, strong domestic liquidity, all these reasons boosted the equities and it boosted the Indian stock market. Cheaper oil obviously benefits India because we import 85% of the oil, right? Good morning, Muskan. So, what is the primary reason behind the recent surge in the Indian stock markets as per the news? Rise in US interest rates, soaring crude oil prices, decrease in domestic investments, or easing geopolitical tensions and falling oil prices. So many students attending the class. I want all of you to give me the answers very quickly. Absolutely correct. Easing geopolitical tensions and falling oil prices. This why did I bring this article is because on an everyday basis we were talking about oil prices, their rise and its potential impact in the Indian economy. I also took a separate session on this Iran and Israel conflict and how it could impact the Indian economy. Right? That is why this was an update in that chalo everything is sorted as of now. Okay, things have cooled down. Merchant power generators in a fix as renewable prices plunge. So here we are talking about merchant power generators. Who is going to tell me what is the meaning of merchant power generators? What is the meaning of merchant power generator? Write in the comment section and tell me what is the meaning of merchant power generators. Let me see who's going to answer. Chetan is saying private discoms. Anyone else? Anyone else who would like to answer? See, whenever you read any news, whenever you read any article, the first important thing is that are you able to understand the meaning of the words here? Facility that generates electricity, Bhakti is saying. Private companies generating power, Indranil is saying. So basically, there are certain there are certain utilities or public utilities, or any kind of uh, proper company which has had a long term contract or long term arrangements, or who are doing this from from a long term point of view. There are certain utilities that do that, generate electricity, and say it can be renewable energy. Through renewable energy, it can be providing, we can talk about the discoms, which generate electricity, which provide uh, power, which generate power. So there are certain utilities which work on a long term basis. Now, some companies which are not working on a long term basis, which are for a short term only, which do not have proper contracts and all, okay, they are like Indian power, you can say producers. They are like, sorry, independent power producers. They are like independent power producers. They do not have any uh, long term agreement. They're just there for this short period of time. ठीक है, who are just doing it, who are just providing or generating power as of now without any long term arrangement, without any, they're not proper utilities basically. These are called merchant power generators. They sell electricity. So they sell electricity in the wholesale markets. These merchant power generators, they sell electricity in the wholesale markets, and they do not have any long term agreement, unlike the traditional utilities that we have. Okay, so one is, there are traditional utilities. These merchant power generators, they are not traditional utilities which provide power on a long term basis. They just sell electricity in the wholesale market without any long term arrangement. Okay, that is what is the meaning of merchant power generators. Okay. Private electricity distributors, Muskan is saying. Okay, I hope you've understood what is the meaning of merchant power generators. They are like these private electricity distributors only, which do not have any long-term contract, which are not permanently established as a traditional utility. Okay. Now, here what is the news? That India's renewable energy companies, which are selling merchant solar power, So when the word merchant solar power is here, that means not on a regular basis or not on a long-term basis. Okay, so merchant solar power sold via exchanges or short-term contracts, you can understand. Okay, they are facing financial strain as solar energy prices drop due to overcapacity and weak demand. Now what is happening is that solar power की demand is less, but solar power की capacity right now, as of now, the current scenario is that the solar power capacity is increasing, and it is in fact overcapacity. We have overcapacity of solar power, but the demand for solar energy is quite less. Okay, because of that, these renewable energy companies, financial they are facing a financial strain. Yes, Chetan, not actually discoms. There's no legal binding, there's no contract, there's no long term contract on a short term basis. For example, we have this renewable energy company, which are generating solar power. There is no long term contract, okay, and they are just selling it for a short term basis right now. Okay. So if we talk about the price drop details over here, then the average market clearing price you can see over here is for May 1.86 per unit, for June 1.82 per unit. So it has been falling. It has been falling. And sometimes the price even hit 0 per unit. Fine. So this is actually impacting the companies like Adani Green, Renew, Acme Solar, Statcraft. They have invested heavily in this merchant capacity, which is approximately 3 gigawatt. And prices have averaged, if you see, prices have averaged 3.78 per unit this year, down from 4.24 last year and 5.25 the year before. So you can see this trend, that there is a trend of declining prices in this case. Declining prices, and this is therefore impacting these solar energy companies, or the merchant power companies which are selling this power. If because there is a rise in solar capacity, so oversupply, and that is why there's a financial strain because of less demand also. So why are Indian renewable energy companies facing challenges in selling merchant solar power? Now, if you have not read the news, if you would have not read this news, you would not be able to answer such a question, है ना? ठीक है, so that is why reading the newspaper, reading the terms which are mentioned in the newspaper, trying to understand the meaning of such companies or such terms like merchant power generators, that is very important. Directly MCQs can be asked, directly meaning can also be asked, right? So the options are: government has banned short-term contracts, solar energy prices are rising too quickly, solar capacity addition has led to oversupply and falling prices, consumers prefer thermal power over solar. Okay, so there's this person, awesome. Yes, live mint. I take this live mint analysis. I take up on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but the news is covered of the entire week. So on Monday, if I've taken up the class, then on Wednesday I will be taking up Monday's newspaper and Tuesday's newspaper. On Friday, Wednesday, and Thursday's newspaper, and Friday and Saturday ka newspaper on Monday. ठीक है, so I pick up articles from these newspapers. Sunday ko there is no newspaper of Mint. Mint does not release a newspaper on Sunday. Therefore Monday ko I take up Friday and Saturday ka news. ठीक है, okay. But in this market, the determinant of the price is market forces of demand and supply. हाँ so what are you trying to ask here, Chetan? ठीक है, what are you asking here? I did not get your question. So C is absolutely the correct answer. Solar capacity addition has led to oversupply and falling prices. Absolutely correct. Fine. Also, those who are new over here, if you want to connect with me, want daily updates about the classes and all, then Mannat Educator is my Telegram handle. You can join it. Okay, this is the Telegram group. You can join it over here. Okay, anyone who's new here. Chalo. Wi-Fi upgrade push faces signal interference worries. Now this article again is very important. Now India is considering opening a 6 gigahertz spectrum band. Okay, now they are still under discussion. There are draft rules which are being prepared regarding this. Whether we should open up the 6 gigahertz spectrum or not, this band, for next generation Wi-Fi services. But the government officials, they are cautious about this because they are reviewing the industrial demands. What are the higher transmission power limits, and they're fearing that this might potentially interfere with satellite telecom defense systems. So they are still hesitant whether we should bring in the 6 gigahertz spectrum or not, because this might potentially impact the satellite telecom and defense systems. Okay. So draft rules for license-free use of 6 gigahertz band. We are talking about license-free use of this 6 gigahertz band, which were released on May 16. Final rules, they are expected before 15th August. Stakeholders like which are the stakeholders that are included here? Meta, Apple, Google, which are advocating for higher signal power to improve the coverage, especially in rural areas, hilly areas, and all. है ना? Yes, Chetan, this is an example of systemic risk, yes, or systematic risk. Very good. Exactly. ठीक है, Chetan? High power can interfere with satellite and fixed line communication. So if high power is generated through the 6 gigahertz band, then this will interfere with satellite and fixed line communication. Government proposes max indoor power to be 25.5 dBm, or you can say decibel. ठीक है, and 30 dBm. Outdoor devices के लिए very low power, maximum emission level is 14 dBm. ठीक है, तो if 6 gigahertz band is used, है ना, so it will interfere with the satellite fixed line communications, and that is a major concern, right? So what is the main concern of the government regarding increasing Wi-Fi transmission power in the 6 gigahertz band? Slow internet speed, interference with communication services like satellites and telecom, high cost of equipment, lack of support from technical companies or tech companies. What is the answer? Quickly give me the answer. Abhi, you guys are able to answer because we have read the news. Maybe you are reading the newspaper on your own. If I bring these questions before discussing the news, then most likely you will not be able to answer the questions very correctly. Yeah, that is why I keep emphasizing that newspaper reading is very very important. You get a very good view of so many important things. ठीक है? अब हम इतने टाइम से we are seeing that 6 gigahertz band का we want to bring it in, but there is some concerns also. So if sometimes you can get a question related to this, a long question related to this, so you should be knowing the reasons why we're not able to implement it as soon as possible. ठीक है? चलो. So interference with communication services like satellites and telecom, absolutely correct. India rejects signing SCO statement seen as pro Pakistan. So SCO is Shanghai Cooperation Organization. My question to you is that where is the headquarter of SCO? Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which is a regional grouping formed by China and Russia to counter US influence in Asia. So we know that SCO is an organization in order to counter the US influence, and this was made by China and Russia. Now my question is, where is the headquarter of SCO? Where is the headquarter of Shanghai Cooperation Organization? China में कहाँ? Yes, Beijing in China. Very. So headquarter is in Beijing, China. ठीक है? You have to specify Beijing. Okay? Yes, absolutely correct. So यहाँ पे India has refused to sign a joint statement during this SCO defense ministers meeting in Qingdao, China. So where was this meeting held? Qingdao, China. And India did not sign the statement because it felt that it is biased in favor of Pakistan and failed to address this issue wherein Pakistan attempted to attack on Jammu and Kashmir in April. Okay? So that is why India did not sign it. India refused to sign this joint statement. Okay? Defense Minister Rajnath Singh stated the declaration ignored April's terror attack, and India accused the statement of supporting Pakistan's narrative. And SCO is led by China and Russia. We know that it is to counter US influence in Asia. And therefore, Rajnath Singh ji, he said that we need stronger measures against cross-border terrorism, and that is why he did not sign. Now we need to know about SCO. SCO as a regional organization is very important from your exam point of view. This is also part of your syllabus, your static syllabus. This is your important part. So when was this founded? It was founded in 2001. Very important. What is the purpose? To promote regional cooperation against terrorism, separatism, and extremism. So their purpose is regional cooperation against terrorism and all, and still they're not able to address this issue that India and Pakistan is having. That is why India did not sign it. You need to know the number of members which are part of SCO, the name of the members. China, Russia, India, Pakistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Iran, and Belarus. You have to remember these. Okay, please learn it. China, Russia, India, Pakistan. ये तो you know. Then these Central Asian countries: Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Iran, and Belarus. Okay, headquarters is in Beijing, China. Languages which are the official languages of SCO is Russian and Chinese, and there are certain observer countries also like Afghanistan and Mongolia, and it is an UN observer since 2000. Okay? So why did India reject signing the SCO joint statement in the recent defense ministers meeting? It opposed Russia's dominance in SCO. It criticized India's nuclear policy. It failed to mention a recent terror attack in India and favored Pakistan's narrative. It excluded economic issues that India proposed. What is the answer? So why did India reject signing the SCO joint statement? Quickly give me the answer, all of you. Yes, absolutely correct. Because it failed to mention a recent terror attack in India and favored Pakistan's narrative. Right? Now this is an important article over here. Manufacturing or services. Why place one another over the other? Now there's a question whether we should focus on the manufacturing sector for growth or on the services sector for growth. Now you've seen that time and over a period of time what we've seen is that our economy has is largely a services led economy. Either you will call an Indian economy an agriculturally dominant economy or agriculture based economy, or it will be called as a services led economy. है ना? And we say that we have left behind the manufacturing sector. And I've also told many times that there is this theory of structural transformation. There in economics, there is this theory of structural transformation, according to which if a country wants to become a developed country, okay, from a developing country, if it wants to become a developed country, it has to follow a particular path. What is that path? First, we are going to improve our agriculture sector and reach its maximum potential. Then we are going, we're going on, we'll move on to the manufacturing sector and increase its potential to its maximum capacity. Then we are going to move on to the services sector. So we have to follow this particular path: agriculture to manufacturing to the services sector. Then we can become a developed country. But we've seen in India's scenario that we have leapfrogged from this agriculture sector to the services sector. We have left behind the manufacturing sector, and this is something that we've criticized over here. That means most of the economists or most of the people, they are emphasizing that manufacturing sector has to improve. These things are absolutely correct. But this article, what is this article saying is that why do we need to place one sector over the other? We need to focus on a balanced development. We need to focus on a balanced growth. We need to maintain a balance between this manufacturing and services sector. We cannot criticize the services sector because it is what has brought us into this category of the fastest growing economy. It is the services sector which has brought us into this fastest growing economy. We should not criticize it. Rather, we should start maintaining a balance between the manufacturing and the services sector. Okay? So this article explores whether India should prioritize manufacturing or services in order to drive growth. And this article is saying that we need to balance this phenomena. We need to balance the manufacturing and the services sector, and we need to balance the development across both the sectors. If you want to maximize employment, if you want to reduce the trade deficits, okay, and if you see that India's services sector has outperformed in terms of GDP and employment, and services sector is what has made us the fastest growing economy as of now, right? You see, these services, they now contribute over 53% to India's GDP compared to approximately 25% from manufacturing. So this is a huge contribution of the services sector in our economy. There's a historical belief that growth to manufacturing, there's this historical belief that growth is tied to manufacturing. Why? Because of Europe's industrial revolution, that growth can happen only because of manufacturing sector. Why? Because of Europe's industrial revolution. So this is a historical belief. But if you see India's scenario, then because of the strong demand and high skilled services, we're talking about the services sector here like IT, finance, healthcare, it has driven the economic momentum. Manufacturing, no doubt, is very important for exports to reduce the import dependency. But the author here is saying is that we need to have an even handed policy approach. We need to balance the sectoral development and trade. So, according to the article, what is the recommended approach to maximize employment and reduce India's trade deficit? Pursue a balanced policy between manufacturing and services. Focus only on agriculture led growth. Prioritize manufacturing over services. Shift entirely towards the services sector for long term gains. What is the answer? Quickly, I want answers from all of you. Absolutely correct. A is the correct answer. We need to pursue a balanced policy between manufacturing and services. Right? Chalo. Government to ease norms for IFSCA registered lenders. So firstly, I want to ask you, what is IFSCA? What is this IFSCA? When was it formed? When was it formed? I have these questions from you. Let me see who's going to answer. What is IFSCA and when was it formed? Who is going to tell me? Let me see who's going to answer. Yes, Chetan. So IFSCA is International Financial Services Center Authority. And when was this formed? Formed in 2020, exactly. Formed in 2020. This is a statutory authority. Very good, Muskan. And it is a regulatory body. Very good. It is a regulatory body. It is a regulatory body to manage these financial services, especially the gift city in Gujarat. Gift city in Gujarat. ठीक है? Very good. To develop IFSC regulation, exactly, Gandhinagar International Financial Tech City. Very good, Chetan. ठीक है? So the Indian government is planning to exempt the NBFC companies which are registered with this IFSCA from certain provisions of the Companies Act. So what are they saying is that NBFCs, non-bank financial companies, जो non-bank financial companies है, who are registered with IFSCA, we are going to remove certain provisions for them under the Companies Act. Why? In order to simplify lending, guarantees investments by such firms operating from Gift City in Gujarat. So all those firms who are operating from Gift City, so that lending is simplified, is financial services sector may, there is growth. Because of that, what we are doing is we are going to remove certain, or we are going to ease out certain provisions or exempt these NBFCs from certain provisions of the Companies Act. So these IFSCA registered lenders will be exempted from which section? Section 186 of the Companies Act. You have to remember this section, directly it can be asked. From section 186 of the Companies Act, the rule of relaxation aligns with benefits already extended to RBI registered NBFCs. This is to promote Gift City as a global financial hub. That is why we are easing things out for the lenders and all. Okay? So what is the primary aim of the government's move to ease norms for IFSC registered lenders? What is the aim, you have to tell? To regulate domestic lending practices, to promote Gift City as a global financial hub, to increase RBI's control over NBFCs, to restrict foreign capital flow. Yes, Bhakti, under IFSC Act of 2019, exactly, Act was in 2019, this authority was made since 2020. ठीक है Bhakti, absolutely correct. And what is the answer? Right. To promote Gift City as a global financial hub. Very. India's economy is resilient, but global risks are rising. This is according to the Ministry of Finance monthly economic review. So we have this monthly economic review which has been released by the Finance Ministry. ठीक है, India's economy remains resilient and optimistic despite growing global risks from geopolitical tensions, trade frictions, policy uncertainties. And the report has highlighted that there is strong domestic demand, there's revival in the rural consumption, there's a positive services sector outlook. So India's economic outlook remains optimistic amid these global challenges. And what are the drivers? Domestic demand, rural consumption rebound, steady investment, net export growth. Services sector led growth, we can see industries expanding with strong construction and manufacturing. Agriculture sector showed revival because of good monsoon. But there are certain escalating tensions also, like India, Pakistan, Ukraine war, Middle East tensions, which are some global concerns. And the projected GDP, according to Finance Ministry for 25-26, is going to be between 6.3 to 6.8%. So, what is the main growth driver of the Indian economy? According to the monthly economic review by Finance Ministry, agriculture, industrial services, or real estate sector. Which is the main growth driver of the Indian economy according to the Finance Ministry's monthly economic review? Hanji, who's going to answer this question? Chaitanya Singh Services, RN Singh, C, Muskan C, Bhakti C. Absolutely correct. It is the services sector, right? One nation, one tariff. Centers plan to fire up renewable energy. So here again, see, one nation, one tariff, one nation, one elections, one district, one state, one RRB, है ना? So in India का जो ये Indian governments plan of one nation, one election, and a one nation, one tariff. We have seen this happening. One state, one RRBS, Chetan, है ना? One nation, one tariff. What else do you remember that the government has brought in? If you remember anything else, just write it in the comment section, just like one nation, one election and all. So government is trying to basically streamline so many things rather than multiplicity of say tariffs, multiplicity of prices, multiplicity of many things. What the government is trying to do is it is trying to consolidate and bring it into one thing. One nation, one IDT, GST, okay. So government is trying to do that. And government has set a target for installing 50 gigawatt of green power every year till 27-28. This is a target that you should remember. ठीक है? One nation, one ration card, मुस्कान, very good. One nation, one ration card भी है यहाँ पे, है ना? So the central government is in talks with the stakeholders in order to implement uniform renewable energy tariffs. So across the country, what we are trying to do is we are trying to bring in the uniform renewable energy tariffs, and that is why here we are saying one nation, one tariff. So don't get confused. One tariff, not for everything. It is for the renewable energy. Okay. One nation, one election. Yes. One nation, one subscription भी था. अच्छा. ठीक है. So this was initially proposed in October 23, and the move, what is the aim of this move? We need to fast track the signing of purchase power agreements and increasing the adoption of green energy. So ये जो power purchase agreements है, we need to fast track the signing of these. ठीक है, बहुत ज़्यादा tariffs होते हैं, so these power purchase agreements are not really signed by many people. One nation, one fertilizer too. ठीक है. So that we can fast track the signing of purchase power agreements and adopt this faster adoption of this green energy. But the problem is that power is a concurrent subject and cooperation from states is needed. So there are certain subjects or there are certain lists that have been formed. Okay, this is part of a schedule. There are schedules in the constitution. Okay, there are when the constitution was written, there are separate schedules. ठीक है, उसके अंदर there is one schedule related to federal list, or you can say the lists. That means the powers have been divided between the center and the state कि कौन किस चीज को संभालेगा. So there is this state list, there is this union list, and one is called your concurrent list. So whichever items are there in the state list, the state government is going to make laws on it. Whatever subjects are there under the union list, only the central government is going to make laws on that. And whatever is there in the concurrent list, both the center and the state government are going to make, both the state and the central government in collaboration are going to make certain law. That means if the center brings in a law, all the states have to first ratify it, all the states have to implement it. That means there is a joint collaboration between the two, center and the state. So power is what? It is a concurrent subject. And that is why cooperation from the states is needed. So if the states won't cooperate, it won't happen actually. ठीक है? हाँ, yes, Chetan, center, state and concurrent list. Exactly. So the central government plans to implement a nationwide uniform tariff for renewable energy and mainly for solar and wind energy. ठीक है? So in order to reduce the disparity in clean energy tariffs across the different states, that is why we want to bring in this uniformity. So the initial discussion is going on right now, and currently about 30 gigawatt worth of power purchase agreements are stuck. They are stuck. Why? Due to tariff uncertainties. These tariffs are uncertain. Different states have different scenarios. There is lack of policy clarity. States' reluctance to accept pooled or central tariffs. States are not accepting the central tariffs, because of which power purchase agreements they are lagging behind. Power purchase agreements नहीं हो पा रही हैं. ठीक है? So, and electricity, since it is a concurrent subject, means both center and states have the regulatory power, and there is a consensus and cooperation required between the two. Okay? What is the implementation model that we are using is the Grid Corporation, the Grid Corporation of India Limited will act as the implementing agency. So, what is the implementing agency? Grid Corporation of India Limited. A central pool will be created. Uniform tariffs will be set based on the auction discovered prices. So, how are the uniform tariffs going to be discussed? Through the auction discovered prices. ठीक है. And this initiative, it aligns with India's target of installing 500 gigawatt of renewable energy capacity by 27-28. So by 27-28, our target is that we need to generate 500 gigawatt of renewable energy capacity, and as of now 155 gigawatt have been achieved. ठीक है. How much has been achieved out of this 500 gigawatt? 155 gigawatt. So we are still behind in this case, and if you want to reach this 500 gigawatt of target by the year 28, then we need to buckle up, we need to bring in certain reforms. And this reform will be supported by RPO and RCO. What is this RPO and RCO? RPO is Renewable Purchase Obligations, which mandates DISCOMs to purchase a certain percentage of power from renewable sources. ठीक है, तो ये रिफॉर्म हम लेकर आ रहे हैं, but we've also put in certain obligations like the renewable purchase obligation. So DISCOMs, they have to purchase a certain percentage of power from the renewable sources only. ठीक है, it can be any kind of renewable source, it can be solar energy, wind energy, so they have to take up a certain percentage of it. Then there are certain other obligations like renewable consumption obligation, which ensures that renewable consumption as a share of total electricity use, that we need to consume renewable energy also. Certain obligations have been made. Discoms are distribution companies. Discoms are called distribution companies. Distribution companies which distribute electricity. जो हमें in the houses which distribute power. देखो, there are certain power generation companies है ना, जो generate करते हैं power. There are certain companies called power generation companies who are going to make power. For example, वो उन्होंने solar panels वगैरह लगाए हैं, उससे they are generating solar energy. अब वो तो सिर्फ generate कर रहे हैं, लेकिन houses में कैसे distribute होगा? हाउसेज में कैसे डिस्ट्रीब्यूट होगा? थ्रू दीज डिस्कॉम. तो जिसका काम है ये एनर्जी को परचेज करना, distribution companies will purchase energy from these power generation companies and further distribute it to our households or to the industries and all. That is what are discoms. That are what are distribution companies. तो ये जो डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन कंपनीज है, ये परचेज करती है अलग अलग कंपनीज से. तो इट कैन बी, अब देखो, देयर माइट बी मेनी कंपनीज जो फॉसिल फ्यूल से जनरेट कर रही हैं electricity. Then there might be companies which are generating electricity through solar energy. Then some companies might be generating wind energy electricity. इन सब से थोड़ा थोड़ा परचेज करके then they sell it to the other households. That is what are power distribution companies. ठीक है, I hope this is clear, Aryan. हाँ, yes Chetan, distribution companies, power grids. Aryan, is it clear? Please let me know if it is clear. If there's any doubt, you can ask me again. Okay, now what are the benefits of this one nation, one tariff? It is going to help in ease of doing business in the clean energy sector. It is going to bring in tariff transparency for the developers as well as the discoms. ठीक है, तो प्राइस में कोई घपला नहीं होगा, हेरा फेरी नहीं होगी. फास्टर पीपीए साइनिंग, जो पावर परचेज अग्रीमेंट्स है. पावर परचेज अग्रीमेंट मतलब, पावर परचेज अग्रीमेंट्स इज वही जो ये डिस्कॉम्स जो साइन करते हैं किससे, जो पावर जनरेट करते हैं उनके साथ. ये पावर परचेज अग्रीमेंट साइन करते हैं, वो डिले हो रही थी बिकॉज ऑफ दिस प्रॉब्लम. ठीक है, सो देयर विल बी फास्टर पीपीए साइनिंग आल्सो, स्पेशली फॉर द स्टॉल्ड प्रोजेक्ट्स. Attraction of private and foreign investments in green power. Acceleration of India's energy transition goals, क्योंकि हमने 500 गीगावाट तक renewable energy capacity we have to attain, है ना, तो उसके लिए this is going to accelerate our energy transition. ठीक है. And some states and discoms are still hesitant. Why are some states and discoms hesitant? Because of increase in the cost due to pool tariff. अब कहीं कहीं पे टैरिफ कम लग रहा है, कहीं कहीं पे ज्यादा लग रहा है. That is why the states are reluctant, because some states are supposed to increase the tariff, which is going to impact the companies and all. That is why they are hesitant, है ना. Grid readiness and state level commitments. State level की commitments इतनी नहीं है, grids इतना ready नहीं है. And therefore the industry leaders, they are stressing the importance of cost recovery and long term certainty for new project developers. Fine, I hope this news is clear to all. Okay, so what is the main aim of the uniform just a second, what is the aim of this uniform renewable energy tariffs initiative proposed by the Indian government? promote fossil fuel usage, reduce taxes on electricity, privatize the power distribution sector, enable uniform pricing for renewable energy across states. What is the answer? Absolutely correct. D, enable uniform pricing for renewable energy across the states, right? Current account swings to surplus in May, in quarter four, but it may slip again. So here what we are seeing is that at the current account, what is this current account? See, when we study about the balance of payments, जब हम balance of payments की बात करते हैं, what are balance of payments? These are basically which records balance of payment records the transactions which we do with the rest of the world. So the transactions between India and rest of the world are written or tracked in this balance of payments accounts. So this is the country's account which records the transactions between India and the rest of the world. अब इसके अंदर we study about two accounts here, right? इसमें we study about two accounts over here. One is your current account and the other is your capital account. Capital account. And इसके अंदर ही we study about the financial account as well, है ना? तो current account is which is related to your goods and services. Goods and services, unilateral transfers, है ना? तो current account में हम क्या क्या add on करते हैं? What do we record? The goods and services, merchandise trade, है ना? Services trade and all. कैपिटल अकाउंट में जिससे एसेट एंड लाइबिलिटी चेंज हो रही है, फॉर एग्जांपल लोन्स एंड ऑल लोन्स, बोरोइंग्स, एफडीआई, एफआईआई, है ना? ये सब चीजें आर रिकॉर्डेड इन द कैपिटल अकाउंट. Now here we are talking about the current account surplus. That means we are talking about export and import. In simple terms, we are talking about exports and imports of goods and services. And in this current account, we are seeing a surplus wherein we are seeing that our exports are greater than our imports. ठीक है, यहाँ पे that is what we are seeing. Merchandise, goods and invisible services. Yes. Current and capital or financial. Very good, Muskan, Chetan. Capital has lending and borrowing. Very good. And trade maintenance with other countries. Exactly, Muskan. ठीक है, तो बीओपी क्या है? करंट अकाउंट एंड कैपिटल अकाउंट ट्रांजैक्शंस आर रिकॉर्डेड इन दिस बीओपी and we are seeing that current account surplus हो रहा है. That means our exports are greater than imports of what? Goods and services. We're not talking about FDI, FII. We're not talking about investment, loans and borrowings. We are talking about the export and import of goods and services. And we are seeing that there has been a current account surplus of 1.3% of GDP in quarter 4 of financial year 25 from January to March that we're talking. And this is driven by robust services exports and personal remittances. So remittances have increased, services exports have increased. But the services are temporary. So what we are saying is this surplus, sorry, not services, this surplus is likely temporary, and this current account, it might slip into a deficit again in this new financial year. Why? Because of persistent trade imbalance. ठीक है? So in the previous 3 quarters, we have seen a deficit only. ठीक है, तो पिछले साल से अगर हम मार्च से अगर हम चलें तो we are seeing a deficit in this last quarter of financial year 25, जो January to March वाला quarter है, उसमें we have seen a current account surplus of $5.7 billion, which is 1.3% of the GDP. ठीक है, दिसंबर क्वार्टर में डेफिसिट था $10.5 billion का, which is 1.2% of the GDP. ठीक है, राइज इन सर्विसेज एक्सपोर्ट्स. तो रीजन क्या है? राइज इन सर्विसेज एक्सपोर्ट्स. तो जो रिसीट्स है फ्रॉम दी सर्विसेज एक्सपोर्ट्स, दे rose to $63.3 billion from $62.7 billion a year ago. Business services में we could see a strong performance. Computer services में strong performance. ठीक है, remittances from Indians abroad increased to $33.9 billion. ठीक है, but this is a temporary thing that the economists are saying, that because our imports are increasing and our exports are declining, so again we might slip into a current account deficit in this financial year 26. ठीक है? So what was the main reason for India recording a current account surplus in quarter 4 financial year 25? Rise in services exports and remittances, increase in FDI inflows, decline in oil imports, decrease in external commercial borrowings. What is the answer? Anji, what is the answer? Quickly give me the answer. Everyone, I want you to write in the comment section. For those of you who are not answering, you should also answer because you also have to give the exam. You should also remember these things, right? Right. So the correct answer is that rise in services exports and remittances. Okay? Yes. Yes. Muskan, Bhakti, Aryan, Chetan, absolutely correct. So this was a small news here. Rupee posts best week since Jan 2023 as dollar demand eases. So now we are seeing that rupee's value is increasing, and the major reason is that the dollar demand is easing out. Okay? Because we are seeing this issue that US Federal Reserve's future independence is under pressure. है ना? We are seeing this problem. अब क्या हो रहा है that Trump is actually, Donald Trump is actually undermining the Federal Reserve's power, and that is why we are seeing a tussle between the two. And there's also a news that Trump might, bring in a new chief of the Federal Reserve or the chairman of the Federal Reserve. ठीक है? So यहाँ पे what we are seeing is that Indian rupee recorded its best weekly performance since January 2023. 1.3, it has gained 1.3% against the US dollar. One reason is because of the cooling of oil prices also, because of this Iran-Israel ceasefire. And another is that our demand for US dollar is decreasing because of this uncertainty in US as of now. Because there's a concern that US Federal Reserve's independence is, under threat. Yes, Powell is being removed. Exactly. Huh. So there is this, uh, there is there was this news also that there might be another chair which might be, brought in except for, Powell. Okay. So this is his best performance in Jan 2023. The rupee appreciated 1.3% in a week. Okay. And the rupee closed at 85.4750 per US dollar on Friday. The global factors behind the surge is the ceasefire between Iran and Israel, drop in oil prices, and dollar demand fell because of this risk sentiment that we have. Okay, and future independence of this US Federal Reserve is under pressure. This is also major reason. So what was the primary reason for rupees appreciation during the reported week? Fall in gold imports, higher FDI inflows, ceasefire between Iran and Israel, easing oil prices and dollar demand, RBI intervention in currency markets. What is the answer? Absolutely correct. Ceasefire between Iran and Israel, easing oil prices and dollar demand. Exactly. Acha, this is a surprise question for you again. Let me see whether you're reading the newspaper or not. Where is Prime Minister Narendra Modi scheduled to attend the upcoming BRICS summit in July 2025? So, this BRICS summit, which is supposed to be held in July 25, in which country is this going to be held? Russia, China, Brazil, or South Africa? Let me see who's going to answer this. Chetan is saying Brazil, Bhakti Brazil, Arun is saying D, South Africa, Muskan is also saying Brazil. Brazil is absolutely the correct answer. PM Modi will attend next week's BRICS summit in Brazil. Okay? From 5 to 8 July. Yes, Bhakti. So you have to, firstly, what is important? BRICS as an organization is very important. Okay, so I'm giving you homework here. You have to read about BRICS as an organization. When was it formed? Where is the headquarter of BRICS? And other details, which all countries are part of BRICS. So all these things you have to learn, you have to remember, and also you have to keep a tab on the developments of this BRICS summit, which can be a part of your exam. Next important news is India to develop a sea protocol to boost mango exports. So in order to boost mango exports, India is trying to create a sea transportation protocol. Via sea we are going to transport, we are going to export our mango. So what is in order to ensure better quality preservation, to reduce spoilage, to make it cost effective. This long distance export should be cost effective. That is why. Why it's important is because India is a major exporter of mangoes. India is a major exporter of mangoes, and air transport is expensive. And you might have read this news also, that when we had shipped mangoes, US had refused to purchase it, and a lot of our mangoes got wasted. Did you read about that news? Yeah. So this was, I think, quite, I think, last month or last month. I'm not able to remember the exact timings. But our exports were refused, and this led to a lot of wastage. Plus, air transport is expensive, and sea transport is cheaper, but it needs proper cold chain and packaging protocols. So, Chetan is saying no, Muskan is saying G. So, what happened was that we had exported a huge amount of mangoes to US, and they refused to take those mangoes. ठीक है, क्या reason था for this refusal? Can anyone tell me what was the reason for this refusal? If you don't know, then I am giving you a homework. You're going to check it out. If you know it, write it down in the comment section. If you do not know, you have to check it out. Why were these refused? The reason behind why these mangoes were refused to be accepted. ठीक है? So, air transport is expensive, sea transport is cheaper, but it needs proper cold chain and packaging protocols. Okay? And sea protocol trials have been very successful in case of bananas and pomegranates. And what are the destinations included? Rotterdam, Netherlands, Commonwealth of Independent States. Okay? That is why we are going to bring this into mangoes area also. Okay? If we talk about leadership and collaboration, we have this APEDA, Agriculture and Processed Food Products Export Development Authority. This is leading this effort, and collaboration with ICAR, Indian Council of Agricultural Research. We are going to collaborate with ICAR to develop the mango protocol. Okay? And Sudhanshu is the secretary of APEDA, and he has made a statement that now we are developing sea protocols for mangoes, which will definitely boost the export of the fruit. Okay? And the focus is basically on long-term vision. We want to increase exports of fresh produce, make exports cheaper, more sustainable, reduce post-harvest losses during long transit. So, what is the primary aim of India's new sea protocol for mango exports? To increase domestic mango production, to develop new mango varieties, to maintain mango quality during sea export and reduce spoilage, or to replace air transport with rail transport for mangoes. हाँ जी, so Bhakti saying no idea about this. अच्छा, see, जो mango exports, they were refused. US refused to accept these exports because of some documentation process and all. ठीक है, तो इतना पैसा लगा के through air we transported also, and they were not there were some administrative issues. Exactly, Muskan, regarding irradiation process, which resulted some 4.2 crore loss. Exactly, Muskan. So 4.2 crore tak ka loss you could have seen through this. So what is the answer? C is absolutely the correct answer, to maintain mango quality during sea export and reduce the spoilage. So we've also seen that the World Bank has recently revised its poverty line. So what is the current now? What is the current poverty line now? International extreme poverty line. What is it? What is the international extreme poverty line as of now? This has been recently revised. It was $2.15 per day before. Now it has been revised. What is the revised international poverty line? Who is going to answer this question? What is the revised poverty line? Yes, Muskan, $3. So if you are, consuming less, or you're spending less than $3 per day, you will be considered as extremely poor. This is the international poverty line. Now, this article is related to this only, that the World Bank's revision of its poverty estimates is befuddling. Okay, World Bank has revised the poverty line. This is a separate thing, and World Bank has also brought in some estimates for India, but these estimates are not very accurate, what this article is saying. So World Bank recently updated global and Indian poverty estimates because of the new data available. तो new data available था, updated poverty line है, तो उसके accordingly the global data has been updated, and there's a revised methodology that we've seen. So while it shows a decline in poverty in India, the article critiques the use of incomparable consumption data. So we've seen that poverty in India has declined, but there's a concern that consumption data is incomparable. Adjusted PPP exchanges and inclusion of government subsidies. These are the reasons that we are including all these things, and these changes are giving us a dismal view of poverty reduction in our country. ठीक है, there is incomparable consumption data. That means we cannot compare the consumption data that World Bank has and what we are bringing in. So if you see, the data source is a concern. If we talk about this 2023 household consumption expenditure survey, so World Bank has utilized this household consumption expenditure survey to bring in the estimates. But this is not comparable with the earlier rounds. So the previous rounds of this household consumption expenditure survey, if we see, we cannot compare it with the previous rounds, and that is why we cannot get a clear scenario of whether poverty has reduced or not. And World Bank has acknowledged this also, that yes, this is different, quite different, but this is raising the credibility of this data. Okay. The PPP exchange rate which is used for 2021 is 19.47 US dollars versus 20.15 for 2017. So ये कम कैसे हो गया? The PPP should have increased na. The rate that they have taken up is 19.47 as compared to 21.15 in 2017. But we know that prices have risen from 2017 to 2021. फिर कम कैसे दिखा रहे हैं? Despite a 20% price rise in India, only 8% in the US. We can see that there's a price rise of 20% in India and 8% in US. How are you comparing? So this poverty line barely increases in rupee terms, which is distorting the poverty trend analysis. Okay, plus the new methodology, it is talking about free food, uniform, subsidies also under household consumption. Okay, and which increases average consumption only 2.8% overall. But there's a 10% for the poorest, which is lowering the poverty estimates now. It excludes durable goods, hospitalization. So we are not getting a clear scenario. Okay, so there's a need for a conceptual shift in poverty definition. Actual consumption expenditure to welfare received. Consumption expenditure कितना हो रहा है? Welfare achieved कितना है actual में? There needs to be a distinction between this. Data manipulation needs to be controlled. Okay? So World Bank's approach is misinterpreting poverty in our country. We need to redefine and measure real deprivation. That is what this article is saying. So what is the major concern raised about World Bank's new poverty estimate for India? It uses outdated demographic data. It omits urban poverty entirely. It uses non-comparable consumption data and includes subsidies and expenditure. It overestimates inflation rates. What is the answer? Bhakti has given me C as the answer. What about others? What about others? What is the answer? Yes. Absolutely correct. C is the correct answer. It uses non-comparable consumption data and includes subsidies in expenditure. Okay, so that is all from my side. These were the important articles I wanted to discuss with you. Thank you so much. For those who want to connect with me beyond these sessions, want to get daily updates of whatever classes I'm taking, want to solve daily MCQs, any doubt clarification, answer writing check, checking your answer writing. So you can connect with me on Telegram. Mannat Educator is my Telegram handle. I see many new students here, today. So you can join this Telegram group for further updates. ठीक है? Anything that you want to ask, any doubt, you can ask me in the comment section. Otherwise, we'll end the session over here. You're welcome, Bhakti, Chetan. You guys too have a good day. Have a great day ahead. Keep reading the newspaper. Read about the updates. Keep yourself updated, right? And I'm going to see you in my next class. Today, I'm going to have the RBI bulletin of June 2025. We are going to cover that up today at 7 p.m. Okay? Okay, Aryan Muskan. ठीक है then. Let's end the session here. Thank you and have a good day, all of you.